Hey, this video is on how to use what I call guiding parameters to get greater clarity on your life, or kind of say like, well, what do I want to do with my life? Or what do I want to do with my career? So here's how this came about. I was coaching someone who's a special operations pilot, and he's transitioning from like 25 some years in special operations in the military to the civilian world. And he was telling me like, I feel kind of frustrated because I don't really know. I'm so used to having a clear goal and just going after it. And I don't really know like what that goal even is right now. So it's really frustrating. I'm kind of just like lost. And he said, I'd be in these conversations and people would ask me, well, what do you want to do? And I would say like, I don't really know. And I feel so weird saying that. It's like I have no like even place to start or like direction. And so I said, okay, let me tell you my story very briefly, but I think you'll get a lot of value out of this. So I remember when I was trying to figure out what should I do with my life, I had already majored, and so I created a major in happiness. If you don't know from watching my channel before, I taught a happiness course at the University of Alabama, won a research grant. I knew I was very interested in this subject matter of understanding happiness and sharing that with others. So I was like, okay, I know I want to do that. Where do I go from there, right? Like there's no like job position where you go on LinkedIn and apply for like, oh, it looks like Facebook is hiring a happiness guru. Like that job title doesn't exist. So what I did is I started to come up with kind of like guiding parameters. I said, okay, I know I want the majority of my work to be going towards like having time to study, learn about happiness and teach it, whether I'm like speaking, coaching people one-on-one, whatever. So I know that's the core. Now, I also know that financial security is not that important to me. And what I mean by that is like, sure, I'd probably like to make, I don't know, $10,000 a month or something like that. But like, honestly, if I made $4,000 or $5,000 for a while, like I'd be fine. I'm not like trying to flex. I'm not a big, gotta have millions of dollars type person. So if you are, that's fine, but I'm not. And I said, I also really don't like to work really, really long hours. Now, if it's a project that I really enjoy, that's different. But generally, I want to aim for working like 30 hours a week. So all of a sudden, when you put those three things together, you have what I would call guiding parameters. So it's like, I want the main focus of my work to be around the study of happiness. I want to work 30, 35 hours a week. And I want to make, I don't know, $4,000 to $5,000 a month minimum, ideally a little more. But okay, so what you have there is kind of a set of requirements. It's not like you know exactly what I want to do. Like, hey, I want to become a pilot, or I want to become a heart surgeon, or I want to become a school teacher. It's like you don't have quite that level of granularity, but what you do have are, like I said, guiding parameters so that you're not trying to boil the ocean. That's the term we use in management consulting is, do you want to try to boil the whole ocean if you want a cup of boiling water, or do you take out a cup and boil that? So it's helping you to narrow things down a little bit. So going back to this, when I created those guiding parameters, there were probably a few different routes I could have taken. I never would have thought back then my primary role would be a military contractor. It just so happens my main client right now is the our U.S. National Guard, that I do kind of leadership development and well-being strategy with them. But it's like, there's really probably few different careers that could have gone into this, right? I could have maybe become a professor who researches happiness. I could have become like a philosopher who does this stuff. I could have become maybe even like the director of well-being and people at a large company, right? There are many different things I could have done, but I had these clear parameters that helped me narrow the focus, and so that I could explore different opportunities and basically like pass them through that filter or that lens of like, does this meet my guiding parameters? If not, I'll get rid of it. And if it does, I can explore it. So here's how you can apply this. What I would encourage you to do is think through maybe like 3 to 5 of these guiding parameters. What are the things that matter most to you? Is it the hours and the work-life balance? Is it the location? That was another one for me. I knew I wanted to be based in Western Pennsylvania. Is it the type of subject matter? Is it the money? Whatever. You want to have maybe 3 to 5 of those. And I would encourage you to say that one of those requirements, those guiding parameters, should be kind of your ideal income and maybe your minimum income. And the reason that's important is because you may find like the perfect job. It's amazing. You're super passionate about it, super fun, amazing balance. And you have to look though, if it's, I don't know, $40,000 a year, maybe it's like, well, I don't know if I can live off that. So like I said, you should have that baseline income estimate and then maybe your ideal one. But other than that, I would say list out and actually write it down, the 3 to 5 sort of parameters or requirements that are most important to you. And then here's how you can go do this. If you're saying, I don't know what to do next, or I'm not sure what to do, or I don't know, really, I need clarity, is you'll get some good initial clarity having those requirements. And you may say, oh, it still feels very broad. Right? That's fine. But you at least have some guiding parameters. And then what you do is you just go out and research and have conversations. That's a brilliant one. So it could look like this. You reach out to a random person on LinkedIn. You say, hey, I see you're a financial advisor. I've thought about doing this, but I'm really kind of curious about like what the work you do is like and what the work-life balance is and a couple other of these things that are important to you. Could I maybe ask you a couple questions or do like a virtual coffee chat? So you wouldn't believe how open to that people are, because the average person is so used to just being sold to that if you just genuinely approach them like, hey, can you help me out with this? I'm thinking about a career transition, or I'm a student thinking about XYZ, you're in. In fact, that's actually how I got my first ever internship. I worked with one of the nation's top financial advisors because I literally just was messaging them saying, well, like, what is it like to be a financial advisor? And they were like, oh, you can try it out. So that is how you can do that. So really you go from this place of being like, I don't know what I have next, or I'm not even sure where to start, to saying you have some guiding parameters, and then you're trying to pass as many opportunities through that filter as you can, right? So you might put 50 things through there. If you research it, you have conversations, you have a coffee chat, put 50 things through that filter, and you leave with 5 to 10 kind of quality opportunities that you can then further explore. So I hope that's useful. And like I said, that's going to help you. Like, it's really hard, I think, to have an exact vision for your life. People always say, oh, you got to have a vision. You got to have a vision. You got to know what you want, set a goal. I think that's kind of bullshit. Like, yeah, if you want to be, you know, an MLB player or the world's greatest painter, like, that's great. I encourage you. But I feel like most of us, we say, well, I have, you know, a handful of things I'm interested in, and then I want to have good work-life balance and earn enough to be comfortable. So it's like, okay, well, once you set up those guiding parameters, then you can start to explore for things that fit in there. And the final thing I'll leave you with on that is kind of an interesting little story. I heard once that, so if you imagine a blind person walking down the road, and they kind of feeling left and right, you tend to think they're feeling for where to go. But in reality, they're actually feeling for where not to go. They're feeling for the extremes, and when they hit an obstacle, right, they don't go that way. And so I encourage you to apply a similar line of thinking if you're thinking through career next steps or career transitions or whatever, is we get so hyperfixated on knowing where to go, like this expectation that I should know exactly what I want to do and exactly how it'll look. But consider this. If you were to try, you have 10 different options, and you try 9 of them and none of them are the one you want, then you know that that 10th option could be the one. So it's kind of like saying that by figuring out what you don't want to do, you eventually kind of narrow in maybe on what you want to do. It's like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go here. I don't want to go here. And one of the only 2 paths left is this direction. So it doesn't always work like that, but you can use kind of process of elimination approach to figuring this question out, as opposed to just like, oh, I know exactly what I want to do or what I want to be. So what I encourage you to do after this video, like I said, create a short list of 3 to 5 guiding parameters, one of which should be both your minimum and your aspirational income, and then start trying to pass things through there, gather information, have conversations, and that is going to go a long way in helping you to get clarity wherever you're at in the process. If you're on the younger side trying to figure out what I want out of life, if you're even on the older side trying to do a career transition, wherever you're at in this process, I think this will help you out a lot. So here's a video that YouTube suggests you'll like. As always on this channel, you can find very practical tools and insights to help you be at your best in both work and in life. So wishing you happiness and success. I'll see you next time.